we've talked about this, but this is a good basketball question. Kevin Moten emailed this in. He said, are players who trying to get out of their deals with multiple years left in their contracts, do you guys think that's bad for business for the league?
I had an interesting kind of epiphany on this the other day, and somebody, I can't remember where I read it or somebody said it, but everyone is complaining about players having power and not honoring whatever contract or wanting to do it. And it just hit me. Somebody said it was like the players are finally treating this like the teams and the organizations have for so many years. Like they finally are realizing the business side of this. Like, oh, okay, I have leverage. I'm an asset. Let me make this work to the best of my ability, because if the organization or the team has a chance to upgrade, they're going to upgrade. Right. So like I see how people, like I said earlier, you're a victim to circumstance. If you're, that's the pup. If you're in the league and you have this type of wealth and income, it's a different thing than if you're sitting at home reading about this guy, trying to get from $40 million to $50 million. Like, I understand that that's a real thing, but you have to sit back and look at it and just think that, so many years you've heard horror stories of guys finding out on Twitter or finding out on TV that they got traded. And I think it's finally just to the point to where players are like, all right, well, I'm going to do the same thing.
Do you guys know what garden leave is?
Mm.
Garden leave is, let's say somebody's working on Wall Street at JP Morgan,
mm-hmm.
and they get a better job offer at Citibank. Oh,
I might know what this is.
They have like a 6-month, 12-month, it depends on the contract, but they have the contract they signed, but it's basically time off that they can't work and they can't start their new job. What if they had garden leave in the NBA? Where Kevin Durant
like a
signed a contract, but
the
contract is like it's like based on a percentage of how much time you have left. The garden leave is based on a percentage of how much time you have left on your contract. It's 50% of your contract. So Kevin Durant, yeah, fine. You want to get traded? You don't want to work here? You got to sit out for 2 years. Like, that would be wild if there was garden leave in the NBA.
But you're still getting paid. You're getting paid 50% of whatever those
by the new team.
Years were.
By the new team, yeah, by the new team.
Are you guys surprised though? I was thinking about this when you compare like what happened with Aaron Rodgers last year to what happens in the NBA, where Aaron basically, and he's one of the few NFL guys that probably has the leverage to try to do something like this, and he tried to do it. And the Packers basically called his bluff, and it worked out in the Packers' favor. Are you surprised more teams don't just sort of do a version of this and say like, hey, like, you can sit out for 2 years if you want, we don't care. But like, which is basically what they did. They were like, we're not going to trade you for a bad offer. If you want to retire, you can go retire. And it seems like a lot of teams just kind of like, they just sort of at this point are kind of doing whatever the players want.
I feel like in football, you see them you see them do that a lot more than basketball, right? Like football, you saw Le'Veon Bell sat out he sent out the whole year, or at least like 15 of the games. Like, I feel like in football, it's a little easier to do that. Where in basketball, you do that with your top player, you could go from a playoff team to out of the playoffs. Whereas football, like Le'Veon Bell didn't play. I think they found James Conner, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little easier. Yeah. It's a little easier, and maybe quarterback's a different position to talk about, but I just feel like it's a lot easier to like, it's not the same leverage, right? You create the necessity to play in basketball a lot more than you do in football.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Alex here in that players are operating in the same way that teams are operating, and not apples to apples, but the 2 times I was traded, I wouldn't describe it as being blindsided because I knew that there was a possibility I could get traded, but it certainly didn't pan out the way that I was told things were going to happen. And, the first time it happened in Orlando, it was like a wake-up call to how the NBA works. And after that, it just became more about, what do I want out of my career? And that's the perspective that I think more and more players are taking. What do I want out of my career? And, specifically with Kevin Durant, the Nets, to me, have leverage here because of the length of his contract, and they don't need to be really in any rush to trade him or make a bad trade. It just depends on what direction they want to go for their franchise. And if they want to remain competitive, I think it behooves them to wait it out and try to get the best deal possible.
And the vocab today is on point.
He's just showing us up.
I need to bring the thesaurus out for this. Jesus.
Behooves. Yeah, that was a good one. Yesterday I played three mornings straight of golf in 110 degree heat in Vegas. I played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I did 2 games at night, Monday, 2 games at night, Tuesday, two games at night, Wednesday. And I was so exhausted at the start of my first game yesterday. There were 2 times that I was trying to make a point to Mark Jones, and I just trailed off. Like I had the worst brain fog, and I was like, where are my words? Where
you just hope somebody like has a dunk or something where you can just get excited and forget about what's happening.
It's also just funny that you were in Vegas and that's what caused it versus
Oh, dude,
things.
I went to dinner 2 nights, but I wasn't out in the streets, man. I wasn't out in the streets.